How are we feeling about Mitch Garver?
Obviously not thrilled that he's struggled so much in the first month. Obviously, we love the walk-off home run on Monday. Long term, I think he's going to be fine. I think this is just a slow start. But for a guy that is expected to be arguably the second most valuable hitter behind Julio, it has been tough to watch at times and see to him go through what he's gone through in month number 1 in Seattle.
If you're going to rank your confidence, he bounces back for the rest of the season on a scale of 1 to 10, what is it?
I'll still say 7 or 8. And I say that because if you look at Garver's splits throughout his career, March and April have historically been just about his worst month. I think his worst month is June, and that almost feels a little fluky. But it does show that after the month of April, he will often heat up as time goes on. As the weather heats up, Mitch Garver can heat up. Another reason why I think he's going to be fine, he's also such a proven hitter and has been throughout his career that to see him just totally fall off would be pretty surprising. But if you want to look at the flip side, there are some alarming numbers that we're going to dive into.
Really alarming. He's not hitting any line drives this year. You want to get on base, hit a line drive. You know, Mitch Garver's he's a pull side fly ball hitter, but that doesn't mean you can't hit line drives. And he's hit line drives in his career. His line drive rate's like 10%. 10%.
So with that, what's your confidence level he turns it around?
Probably 6, a little bit lower. There are some really alarming things here. Like, he is chasing way more than he ever has. Like, not even close. Like, when I said outlier bad in our first storyline, I mean, it truly is outlier bad. It is, if you look on a Savant page, it's outlier bad and quality of contact, expected batting average, expected slugging percentage, expected ISO, like all the expected quality of contact stats. His max exit velo is way down this year. So, like, there are some really concerning signs that not only is the ball not getting hit very hard, but the zone is getting expanded significantly, and on those swings, he's making significantly less contact. That is a recipe for a disaster season. All of those things combined. And it doesn't make much sense. What about T-Mobile Park turns Mitch Garver into all of a sudden a chase-happy swing and miss hitter? What about it?
So, fun fact, it doesn't. Mitch Garver is actually hitting way better at home than on the road. He currently is holding a 719 OPS at T-Mobile Park. He's got a 358 OPS on the road, which maybe that's fluky, but it is interesting considering some of the road ballparks they've been in so far. Texas, which he's very familiar with. Colorado, supposed to be a hitter's park, although the weather was bad. They've been in some road ballparks so far that shouldn't be that hard to hit in, but he hasn't hit in them. Do you think that home road thing is fluky? Because he's actually hit better in Seattle.
Maybe he'll enjoy the Crawford boxes this weekend. That would be nice. He can get a couple cheap home runs. He pops one up and hits a couple into those Crawford boxes. Because, you know, at the rate he's going, he's also like on StatCast's qualification of quote unquote meatball pitches. He's also swinging at way less of those, like the best kind of pitch to hit. He's swinging at way less. So the whole profile is messed up on what the Mariners, I think, thought they were getting in Mitch Garver. And through a month of April, he looks like a completely different hitter than the one that was in Texas last year.
But don't you think some of this should turn around? He's in the first percentile right now in expected batting average. And like you said, a bunch of the quality of contact stuff, way more drastic than it was. You could highlight a bunch of these. I'll just highlight one, and you could pick a whole different number of them. But when you look at, for example, his expected slugging, it was in the 87th percentile last year. It's in the 8th percentile right now. Don't you think some of that should turn around? That just doesn't make any sense for somebody to go from a 138 WRC plus like he did last year to now where he's at, currently holding a 143 average with 3 home runs, a 553 OPS, and a 67 WRC plus through the first month. Shouldn't
if it actually
around?
Happens, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just I'm saying, shouldn't it turn around?
If it doesn't, they should make a 30 for 30 on his season this year. I think it would be fascinating.
You know what I find fast? Yeah, go ahead.
But I think the main thing here So he actually's hit fastballs okay, not at the rate he did last year, but he's been fine against fastballs this year, which is his bread and butter. And I think most hitters, if there's one pitch they're certainly going to hit, they hit fastballs. So when, sort of the thought that comes into my head of bat speed and worrying about his bat slowing down, I think his swings against fastballs would be, it would be noticeable, right? But he's still been fine against fastballs. So even if his bat speed has slowed down a tiny bit since last year as he gets another year into his 30s, I just don't know if we can all 100% say that, because he's done exactly nothing against any sort of spin pitch this year, any breaking pitch. Absolutely nothing.
I was going to get into it too. When you look at what he's done of all pitches not named four-seam fastballs, it's really been a struggle. Really, it's like Colton Wong levels of last year. He's seeing sliders 30% of the time right now, which is the pitch he's seeing the most of any pitch right now. He's hitting 091 against sliders. And if you look at what he's doing against sinkers, that's the pitch he's seeing the third most. He's getting sliders the most, four-seamers at second, and sinkers third. He has not gotten a single hit against the sinker yet this year. He's in 17 different plate appearances this year, seen sinkers. He doesn't have a hit against one yet. Last year, he didn't seem to have issues at all with any of this off-speed stuff or any of this spin stuff. He was best against fastballs. That's what Garver's done most of his career, is he's crushed the heater. But he held his own against all those other pitches so he could get more fastballs in the zone, and he'd take advantage of it. Right now, like you just talked about, he's still hitting fastballs for the most part. It's everything else he's struggling against. And honestly, if you want to try to speculate as to why maybe he's not crushing fastballs more, I heard Ryan Divish talk about this on Foul Territory today here on Thursday. So many of these Mariners are now getting pitched with so much spin, and teams like the Red Sox, like we saw in the first weekend, and others have this whole spin to win philosophy against the Mariners by attacking them with a bunch of breaking balls. I do wonder if guys are now late on fastballs because they're expecting spin, and Garver could be included in that. They're seeing so many breaking balls, they have to gear up for it, and then they're late on heaters.
And Garver's whole thing is pulling fastballs, and you can't pull a fastball if you're sitting spin.
Right.
So, what do you do? First of all, he has to be out there in the lineup. He's making a lot of money in Mariners standards. He's your DH. He's not going to go behind the plate. He's not going to go out and play in the field. He's going to sit in the lineup in the DH spot, and he's going to hit. And he's already gotten moved as low as 7th in the lineup. You can't drop him any further than that, because I don't know if you drop a hitter like Mitch Garver deeper in the lineup than that, just based off of how he runs and, how he handles himself on the base paths. What do they do?
You just have to keep playing him. You have to bet on what you know, and you have to bet on his track record that he's going to turn this thing around. First off, I don't know if there's anybody on the bench or anybody currently in Tacoma that could really come up and make that big of a difference right now. And as a result, say to Garver, you're going to get less playing time. First off, I think that's irresponsible. But second of all, I don't think there's anybody you could pull up from AAA right now that could really take a big jump forward. You have got to bet on what you know and who he's been as a player in years past and bank that he's going to turn this thing around. Here's an example too. We just talked about how he's a slow starter a lot of the time. Let's first off see what he does in the month of May. But last year in Texas, it was flipped. He had a great April, crushed it. He had a tough May. So his first 2 months, you saw different results. June and on, he hit the ground running when he was on the field. But he had a slow April this year. He's had slow Aprils in the past. Let's see what he does in May. Let's come back to this on June 1st and see where Mitch Garver's at. If it's 2 straight months of struggling, yeah, there's going to be more alarms going off for concern in everybody's heads. But let's see what he does in May. He's gotten warmed up now. I think this doesn't get talked about and it can't be quantified. I do think coming into a new organization with a new hitting philosophy does take some time to adjust to as well. That could be a part of it. But let's see where he's at on June 1st, because you know what? He's still walking. He's still walking about 11% of the time. And it's not everything, but you have seen a little more power from him come to life over the last 7 games or so. He had the walk-off on Monday night. He started to pull a couple more baseballs. Scott Service says he's starting to like what he sees out of Garver a lot more. maybe things will turn around. If I were to bet, again, my concern level with Mitch Garver right now is not that high. I don't like, nobody's thrilled that he had a slow April, but I think he's going to turn it around. And if you're the Mariners, you can't just sit him down after a month. You have to bet on that he's going to turn it around.
And like you said, you don't really have any other options. You're not better by putting someone else in his spot. Hey, Mike Ford asked for his release, and people are like, hey, look at that. Yeah. I don't think the Mariners are better with Mike Ford right now than they are with Mitch Garver. I don't think it helps him either, though, that, I mean, he was hitting cleanup at times this week. That, like, the fact that there is not enough consistent production with the sixth best WRC plus lineup in baseball the last 5 series of the season, that he still needs to move up and hit cleanup sometimes, right? Like, that's not, I don't think it's a total help for someone who's not really seeing the ball as well as other guys. And it would certainly help if Jorge Polanco or Ty France or Julio Rodriguez, or if JP Crawford was healthy, any of those guys were in the lineup and absolutely raking, and pitchers thinking about something else besides, oh, like, most of this lineup is still swinging and missing a lot, let's junk it up, right? It's sort of like what happened last year when the team was off to a slow offensive start. Most guys were struggling. So it was like, well, okay, like, don't have to really worry about anyone specifically. And for the most part, strikeout-wise, it's the same thing this year.
They really do just need one guy to truly get going. Look what happened when Julio started to have all those multi-hit games over that small stretch throughout this 5-series win streak. Started to see a lot of wins. Started to see the team change a little bit. I'm sure Julio's going to get going here soon, but you just need one more guy to get going, because if one more guy can take some of the pressure off the rest of the lineup, you're going to see contagious hitting, because these guys wear it. We've heard Service talk about this too. You know, it's on Garver right now. You know, he's probably taking it hard because he knows he's such a good hitter, and he knows what he can do for this team when he's at his best, and he knows he's not at his best right now. So if just one of these guys starts to get going, you could see a lot of difference be made throughout the lineup. So whether it's Garver, whether it's Polanco, whether it's Ty France, Haniger getting going again, somebody really just getting on a heater, it's going to help a lot.
Is there one thing that you're thinking to see from Garver's game that would necessitate a turnaround more? Would it be striking out less, hitting more home runs, hitting more line drives? What would it be?
The line drive thing is probably what's most apparent. And his fly ball rate's also down too. His ground ball rate's way up. His fly ball rate and line drive rate are down, which signals he's not hitting the ball that hard right now. I think the hard hit rates going up would be a big signal of that. The strikeouts, look, you don't want anybody striking out, but one, you can live with strikeouts if you hit the ball hard and you hit it with authority a lot. But also, Mitch Garver's never been a career 30% or above strikeout guy. I don't think that's going to last. So you could pick either one of those things. For me, it's probably hitting the ball hard.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, probably that. But I think for the most part, I just want to see some more homers. So we saw the homer on Monday. More of that. Like, that is the kind of hitter he is. Like, hitting the ball in the air with authority would be great. We haven't seen it all that much this season. That swing on Monday was great. Let's see more stuff like that, because that's exactly what you want to see. Damage pitch, damage result.